All right, welcome. My name is Melissa Christopher. If we've never met, most of you, I know you've seen my face around because you are a part of a team that does a lot of education. So you've maybe seen me in our oil camps or in our oil studies or in our immune classes or pregnancy, birth, and babies, or all the things that we're a part of on our team. And so if you're new, welcome. This is something that we do regularly because we think it's valuable to you to understand how to actually use your oils. So a lot of people that can sell you essential oils, there's not many that are willing to live the oils in their own life, share their experiences with you, and then continue to teach you and support you as you continue to learn and really address your top health goals. And so this might be a class that you just landed on, or it might be something that I've got to get control of my metabolic health. I've got to facilitate some detox in my body. And so no matter if you know why you're here or not, welcome. I think you're going to find value here. So like I said, my name is Melissa, but I have a whole team of advocates who are a part of this in the chat, and they'll be answering questions if you want to put them there. Otherwise, I'll be coming back at the end. You'll see this essentially ADIO. And so I explained this on one of my last classes that I taught. So if you were there, this is a little repeat for you. But I think this is really important for the class tonight because it really sets the foundation for the paradigm of health that I'm a part of. And so it may be different than yours. So I hope that you're coming here with an open mind to learn, but know that you can go back and you can research everything that I'm sharing with you tonight on your own and find it yourself. But the reason that I named our team essentially ADIO is because the ADIO stands for, it's an acronym that stands for a principle of chiropractic. And I was introduced to natural health in the chiropractic world almost 15 years ago. Before that, I knew nothing about health. I thought I was getting away with eating really crappy, no exercise, and taking medications when something would come up. And I was introduced to this whole natural living, natural lifestyle thing when I walked in the doors of the chiropractic office for a job one day. No idea what was happening. And they taught me a principle that has totally transformed my entire life, my family's life. And I'm seeing the ripple benefits of it here, even 15 years later, even though I'm no longer working in the chiropractic office. And it stands for this: above, down, inside, out. And it's a principle that says all healing comes from above. And for me, above is God. And he's the one that made us and created us. And this is the reason why it works, because he put the power in our brain that runs down our spinal cord. And all healing comes from the brain down through the spinal cord, does its healing from the inside out. And it's compelled me to continue to teach and educate and be passionate and live this lifestyle long past my chiropractic job days, because I've realized how powerful that paradigm is, because you've got two paradigms. Well, there's maybe more than that, but the two that I've experienced are: when a symptom arises in the body, it's because the body is broken and we need something from the outside, like a medication or a potion or lotion or whatever you want to say, to fix that. The other paradigm is that our body was made perfect, and that there's a lot of interference that we encounter, whether it's in our world or in our body or in our lifestyle, and it causes interference in that healing system. And so the symptom, the signal, is just there to tell us, hey, you've got something to work on. And so we look for what we have on the inside to be able to initiate the healing on the outside. So anyway, maybe that's too deep philosophically for you, but it'll impact the way you take in the information tonight. So I wanted to share that with you if you were wondering, what is this essentially ADIO all about? Tonight, my focus is one thing: to talk to you about cleansing, detoxification, and metabolic health. And why do we need to be cleansing on a regular basis? If you didn't know, this class is actually just week 1 of 3 weeks, because there's just way too much to do all in one. I want you to have time in between to process it and then come back and we'll continue on. So that's this week. Next week is going to be next week, Tuesday night. It'll just be a continuation of this class, but we're going to talk about then how can doTERRA oils and products actually enhance your detox results and dramatically impact your metabolism. And then week 3, I'm going to go through what our team has done for the last 5 or 6 years, is put on a biannual cleanse with our customers. And the cool thing is, it's all different levels, for all different ranges of fitness and involvement as far as lifestyle changes, but it gives you a chance to step in just past comfortable to start getting some better results in your life. And I'm going to tell you tonight what the giveaway is, but I have a huge giveaway that I'm really excited about that you'll be able to be a part of on week 3. So I'm going to be grabbing all of your names. I didn't have someone do that. I did see Stacy on. I bet she'd be willing to do that for me. Grab everyone's names that are on tonight, 36 of you. And that'll be your first entry if you hang out for this class, and we'll get one more entry next week and another entry on the final week. And then we'll draw live. All right, should we go in? Should we dive in deep? We're talking about detoxification, detox pathways, metabolism. So we've got to start with biology, right? We have to know what we're working with here. And this may seem like a very basic slide and something that maybe didn't need to be added here today, because doesn't everyone know what our detox organs are? But I wanted them here because I wanted to talk through them really briefly, but I want you to look at them and think about them. So, because how often do you think about your liver and your kidney and your skin? I bet you think about your skin probably the most out of this list, right? Because we can see it so easily. Our lungs, massive detox organ, and our intestines. Now, what I find is goes back to what I was talking earlier about 2 paradigms of health. We can look at these organs and we can look at sometimes when they are signaling concern, right? What would be like a signal of concern in your detox organ for your intestines? Like diarrhea, right? We're going in deep, right? And so we might look at diarrhea and say, that's a problem. This is a signal that something is wrong, when really this paradigm over here would say, what's going on, right? What has entered my body that my body has recognized as not adequate or not safe for me to have here, and is trying to remove it as quickly as possible? How can I assist the body to remove the bad as quickly as possible without interfering? Okay, that's where we come from. So I wanted you to think about these detox organs in that way. Have you experienced signals or symptoms in these organs before that are signaling to you that your body might be toxic? Here's a quote at the very bottom I don't want to brush past. It says, the preservation of health is easier than the cure of disease. And that's the whole premise of everything we're learning tonight. Some of you are coming here already in a disease state. Some of you are not, and you're just here because you thought it would be awesome, interesting information, or maybe I don't know why you're here for sure. But I will tell you that the people over here on this side, that preservation of health is way easier than finding yourself here and trying to work your way back. This is a quote by BJ Palmer. He's actually the father of chiropractic. So what are the toxicity warning signs? So we know what organs are affected when we start experiencing toxicity, but what are the warning signs that those organs will then present for us? And the number one thing I see with most people is brain fog. We think that's pretty normal and common. We blame it on children or overwhelmed schedules, or I don't know, lots of things, but it's actually a toxicity warning sign. Digestive issues like gas and bloating, I used to think those were normal. After I have supported my digestive system and rebuilt the bacteria there and supported detoxification, I've realized that's actually very rare in my life. And typically when I experience that is when I have had processed food. White coating on your tongue, bad breath, belly fat in your midsection. We're going to talk more about that. Acne, mood swings, body odor, dark circles under your eyes. I've actually seen that even in children. That's a sign of toxicity, specifically liver toxicity. Infertility, a lot of concern this day about in these days getting pregnant. I have so many friends that have struggled, or friends of friends, maybe you have as well. And I can't tell you how many, we call them doTERRA babies, we have when we've helped moms realign their nutrition, their movement, lower their toxic load, and get pregnant. It's awesome. Weight loss resistance is a huge issue these days. Unexplained pain and lack of energy can all be warning signs of toxicity. So where does all this come from, right? I mean, so you might look at that list and think you check off 5, 6, 7, 8 of those things, or you know people in every single one that are dealing with those. So how can we all be toxic? Where is this coming from? Well, here's a quick list that I just put together today off the top of my head. Processed food. I looked it up. There's over 10,000 additives and preservatives that the FDA recognizes as safe, supposedly, apparently, in our food system. Conventionally grown foods, meaning non-organic. There's a billion pounds of pesticides used in the US every year. Our tap water is tested with over 140 contaminants. We have environmental toxins. We have household cleaners that are full of toxins. We have home improvement products in our homes, right? We paint our walls, we get new furniture. There's VOCs, volatile organic compounds in there. There's flame retardants, and we're breathing in all those things. Remember, lungs is a big part of our detox organs. And then we have beauty and personal care products. If you've been around doTERRA at all, you heard us talk about that. And then what you may not know is that stress can actually cause toxicity, specifically in the digestive tract, because of the way that impacts the good and bad bacteria there. So I had to throw that one in there because maybe you say no, 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 but then we all relate to the last one, right? It's just important to understand where they come from. It's not that we can't, not that we can avoid every single one. That's not the purpose of this conversation, and it's not feasible, but we have to be aware, right? That's really the first step. So here's some research that I've done on EWG, Environmental Working Group. There's a lot of areas out there where you can start looking into toxicity and how it affects the body. But this is why reducing toxins in those areas specifically and others are so important. If you didn't know, toxins poison your enzymes, so they don't work properly. They displace structural minerals, so resulting in weaker bones. So many women and men worry about osteoporosis and bone degeneration, and we don't realize that one of the biggest things we could be doing for stronger bones is to not only supplement, but then not lose the minerals we supplement by displacing them via toxins. Toxins damage our organs. Of course, they damage our DNA, which increases the rate of aging and degeneration. That's what we're here talking about tonight. I'm going to, in week 3, actually week 2 and week 3, we're going to talk about what specifically doTERRA offers for repairing damaged DNA. Toxins modify gene expression. Toxins damage cell membranes so they don't respond properly. What interacts with cell membranes? Essential oils. That's awesome. Toxins interfere with hormones and causes imbalances. That's a whole part of the metabolic system. And then toxins actually impair your ability to detoxify. So it can become a really vicious cycle that's frustrating for people. And so that's why we have committed to teaching this at least twice a year, because it's something we have to be continually reminded of. We're always encountering toxins. We have to support the body in the ways to eliminate them. But this is why it's so important. Like, above all, toxins influence your metabolic health. So there was a recent survey done in the National Health and Nutrition Examination. They studied over 55,000 people who are at least age 20 years or older, and took a bunch of their blood work and monitored them. They wanted to know waist circumference, blood glucose, blood lipids, blood pressure, cardiovascular health, evaluating all of that to determine, are they cardiometabolic healthy? And you see the stat on the screen, less than 7% of that adult population actually has all optimal cardiometabolic health. Does that number surprise anybody? I was like, I've been in this world for almost 2 decades, and I pick my jaw off the floor, because that's a very, very small percentage. And you already know there's a percentage of the US that's highly fit, master athletes and all that kind of stuff. So it's I'm left over here wondering, maybe I'm actually not in the top 7%. And so that's worrisome, right? Some of you are like, oh, I already know you have these concerns already. Maybe you've dealt with high blood pressure, or you have glucose spikes that are not managed well. Your cardiovascular health isn't healthy. You've got extra weight that lingers in your midsection and those kind of things, that then it's obvious what side you're on, right? So here is, so it just takes 3 minutes on Google to do a quick search to see all of the research that's behind knowing that toxins and toxic exposure induces metabolic disruption, is what this study said. This was a study in 2017 that was on the chemical disruption of human metabolism. So toxicant exposures induce metabolic disruption in a myriad of ways, which are then categorized by health providers into innumerable diagnoses, right? That's this slide that we went over. So all of these toxins cause all of these problems, and then this is what happens, right? We go in, and I mean, I'm not blaming anyone or pointing any fingers. This is just the way our society is set up, right? We experience this symptom, we assume something's wrong, and here they are. And right, isn't there a diagnosis for almost all of that, and probably a prescription for a lot of it? and more, right? So that's really interesting to see that come out in the research like that. And then here's the last part of this that I had to highlight. Chemical disruption of human metabolism has become an etiological determinant of much illness throughout the life cycle, from neurodevelopmental abnormalities in utero. That's like babies growing in the womb are already showing neurodevelopment, meaning brain abnormalities because of toxicant exposures, all the way to dementia in the elderly, which is becoming rampant and affecting so many of our loved ones, right? So it's kind of a big deal. I hope you're feeling a little bit more of the weight that I've been sorting through for the last couple of weeks as I've been preparing for this. This is heavy stuff, right? So if toxins influence your metabolism, then what does your metabolism influence? Well, it's kind of a full circle, right? This brings us back: low energy, weight in our midsection, body composition, poor sleep, cognitive performance. Those would be the bad results of a poor functioning metabolic system, right? Maybe you identify with some of those things. So what I have been learning with just recently, and I'm going to tell you why just recently, but also over the last couple of decades, is that metabolic health and biological health are inseparable. And so a lot of us believe that our genetics are 100% of the reason why we're at where we are. And research actually disagrees with that more and more. In fact, only about 2 to 5% of all disease is actually directly related to genetic expression. I read a research article today that actually the Center for Disease Controls believes about 70 to 80, maybe 90% of disease is actually related to stress in the body, induced by stress. But there are so many factors that actually load the gun, right? Per se, this is how I've been taught it. So you've got, your genetics and all of those things that might load the gun, but what actually pulls the trigger and makes something full blown that we experience? And it's almost always lifestyle related. And so what I have learned recently, because of doTERRA's new product line that's coming out in September, which I'm going to show you tonight, is that every time your blood glucose spikes, your blood sugars, every time that is out of control, you age. And so we have to be, and what causes blood sugar spikes? Well, for sure, lifestyle choices like food and movement, exercise, right? But also we're learning, as I'm just showing you, that toxins influence the way that your metabolic system runs. And so it was really exciting to be sitting in Utah last month, be hearing from the top doctors and researchers in doTERRA, for them to confirm what we've been teaching for several years, that toxicity is a problem. We've actually created a biannual cleanse to address these needs, and they're coming out with a whole new product line based on research to manage metabolism. So yay, right? And this is why it matters. The lifespan and health span gap. This is some of the information they went through with us as leaders in Utah last month. And it was not shocking information, but it did kind of mind blow me for a little bit. So the hallmarks of aging begin to appear at age 25. Yikes. I don't know if any of us here are below age 25. I'm super young, but I'm not 25. I am a decade past that plus. So the hallmarks of aging begin to appear at age 25, and NAD plus, a molecule, it's actually, I looked it up. I was like, what does NAD stand for? Does anybody know? I bet nobody will know. Nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. Bet you didn't know that. Either did I. It's a molecule that the body creates, and it unfortunately begins to decline after the age of 25, and it's critical to DNA repair. It steadily drops. And so what happens then? Your metabolic function declines. So maybe you've heard yourself saying, my metabolism has been slowing down. Well, there are many factors, but absolutely one of them is the way that things are produced in the body after the age of 25. So here's the chart that I just kept staring at, and I still haven't really stopped looking at it. So I want you to understand what we're looking at here. You've got health going up and down, vertical, right? And then you've got age going left to right. And so they've studied a lot of master athletes, like Olympians and those that are exercising 5 to 10 hours a day, multiple days a week. And they've studied their lifespan and health span, right? Meaning like, how long do they live, but then how long do they maintain health before they get until they have morbidities. And so that's the yellow line that you see there. And the average population is this orange line. That's you and me, right? I don't think we have any master athletes on the call tonight. If you are, I apologize and salute you. Congratulations, but I don't think so. You notice that our line is a little bit different. And do you see at what point our orange line actually starts to go down? Like right before 30, right? And when does it actually start taking a pretty steep decline? I was trying to look at it. I would say between 50 and 60, it really starts heading down really quickly, right? So I hadn't even told my husband what I had been preparing for tonight. And he was just telling me he was at a friend's house last night. And so I got home late and we were just catching up about the weekend. And he was telling me about this conversation that he had with a former coworker of his who's actually in his early 50s, and he's already retired. He had a very successful career, and they were talking about retirement and money and I don't know, whatever men talk about, like those kind of things. I don't know. I guess I didn't hear the whole story, but this piece really stuck out to me. And he was telling my husband that if he would have worked 9 months longer, his retirement would have actually been like $2 million more or something really astronomical. But he actually decided to leave at that point and not wait 9 months because he physically couldn't take it any longer. His stress was so high. He had actually had some cardiovascular issues in the last few years and just knew he had to be done. And so he's been out now a couple of years in retirement. And he told my husband last night, it wouldn't have even mattered if I had that extra 2 million because I just would have died sooner with more money in my bank account. And my husband said, well, why do you say that? And he said, well, I can already feel that we're going, like everything is going down from here. Like he was basically saying he's been, even in retirement, even with no stress, his body is still going rapidly down. And I'm like, I texted my husband this picture today as I was preparing. I'm like, this is what he's talking about. This is what he's experiencing. He is the average population. He's just like all of us, right? Like as active as he can be, has kids, try to do the right things, but he hits 50, early 50s, and he feels like he's on the end of it. And like, what are we going to do? Right. So you may not know that because of medical advancements in science, a lot of our population is actually living longer than we ever have. Right. But what's changing is that our health span is shrinking. So our lifespan is longer, but our health span is shrinking, meaning that we're experiencing morbidities. Do you know what morbidity means? We heard this in the last couple of years, right? People that were dying with comorbidities, meaning they have a chronic issue that they're suffering from. It's basically like suffering with a chronic health issue. And so you can have morbidity, you can have comorbidities, like more than one. And that typically onsets, like you can see this, you can see that as it starts going down, it can set on like as early. I mean, some of you, maybe it's already started, but we're living then with those morbidities longer. So what's the gap, right? The gap between that health span and lifespan. We might have lifespan here, but our health span ends here. And on average, that in between is about 8 years. So 8 years of basically suffering through morbidity before we actually die, right? And that's not the same for master athletes and the way that their bodies are responding. You see that their morbidity, like that when their line starts going down, it's just a few years before the end of their lifespan, right? And so doTERRA says, we know this. We've got to figure out what we can do to give people the results that master athletes are experiencing because of their lifestyle without the requirement of this like overwhelming activity, 5-10 hours of workout a day, right? And so that's what's coming in September. And so we already had plans to do a cleanse with our customers in September, but we're going to be adding in this new line because look at what we can do when we improve detoxification and increase metabolic health. It's the whole premise of our reflect, reset, radiate cleanse. So our cleanse is all about upping nutrients through eating healthy. We're going to teach you how to do daily movement, or at least 2 to 3 times a week movement. We're going to have healthy connections. There's so many ways to connect. We actually do a lot of education on a My Event Cafe platform. We have breakout classes throughout the weeks. We're going to talk about stress management. Last time we actually brought in some experts, professional counselors and things to teach us ways to manage stress. And then the smart supplementation is going to be lit up, I guess, is the only thing I can think of, in a new way than ever before, because we're not only going to be able to correct the internal environment of our bodies, which we've always been able to do with our cleanse products. We're also going to be able to minimize toxins, but we're going to be able to impact metabolic health and those blood sugar spikes in a way that we never have before. And that's really, really exciting. So before I tell you what's coming, I want to just clarify, when I talk about cleansing, we're not talking about a laxative or a fast or a liquid diet or withholding food. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is properly designed supplements that are given to you in a very easy to understand, easy to take, daily consumable basis, whole foods recipes and foods focused on colorful foods, things that God made, intentional exercise and movement, and then resetting your body to radiate the best you. And so our cleanse is set up in 3 phases. The first is to activate, and it's designed to get your organs filtering and removing toxins at a more efficient rate. Because here's what I should have said earlier when we were talking about the 2 paradigms of health. Our body was, I'm over here, right, in this paradigm. Hopefully you find yourself here too. I believe that God made our bodies amazing and that he didn't make a mistake. I believe that we have interference that we encounter on a daily basis, and that's what limits our bodies from working at their optimal level. And so is our body wrong in that it builds up toxins? No, not at all. In fact, our body is always detoxing. My children at home are detoxing right now. I am detoxing right now as I breathe, as my skin lets toxins in and out, when I go to the bathroom, remember our detox organs, we're doing that on a daily basis. But what happens is this last line, more efficient, right? We become less efficient at eliminating toxins because some of us are encountering so many during the day. Some of us have toxic jobs, hairstylists or farmers, or they're cleaning companies. Like, so many people are interacting with toxins on a daily basis. So that's what Activate is all about. We've got to help support the body do what it's already designed to do, but is likely very sluggish because of the way that our lifestyle it affects that. And then Reset is the second phase, where we actually focus on the digestive system. And so if you're experiencing some of those symptoms we were talking about regarding intestines, gas and bloating and cramping and all of that, even mood and mental health would be a signal, concerns that the digestive system is off, then the Reset will be an awesome part of the phases for you. And then finally is Renew. It's that final push towards deep cellular repair. There's some amazing products that do this, and I think that's really what makes this cleanse stand out from others we've tried, and my customers have tried for sure. So before I show you what we're adding into our cleanse coming up here, I want you to think about this as we finish up today. By changing nothing, nothing changes. Some of you and me need to read that a few different times, because it's really easy to get excited about information and then to continue, because we've just been ingrained in lifestyle choices that some of us have grown up in and lived in for a lot of years. And so you're going to have to make a decision as you go through, especially into next week and the following week. Am I ready to change something? Because unless I'm willing to change something, if I'm not willing to change, then nothing changes, right? Didn't mean to make that more complicated than it is. So that's the end of this week, but I want to show you what doTERRA has up their sleeves, what we have started to been able to try a little bit, tiny bits, and what doTERRA is going to be teaching on, and what what we're going to be teaching on over the next several weeks until it launches. And this is actually what I'm going to give away for being a part of this series. So here it is. Are you familiar with the Slim and Sassy oil blend? Like, best name ever, right? Slim and Sassy is the doTERRA's metabolic blend. It's been around for years and years and years, and it's actually an incredibly powerful blend. It hits the closest to home for me with my grandparents. My grandmother has always managed her blood sugar spikes on her own with lifestyle and movement and activity, but there has come a period as she's aged that's become more and more difficult. And so we introduced her to Slim and Sassy when her numbers were very, very high at one point, and she was able to take a couple drops of that oil in the morning and in the afternoon. And she lowered her points almost 40 points in a couple of weeks time just from taking that. I know Michelle, who I think is on this class, has had really awesome results with Slim and Sassy for lots of things. I've specifically seen benefit from the gum and the oil, diffusing it for cravings, and like eliminating the desire for carbs and all that kind of stuff. It's an amazing blend, but doTERRA knew that we were just like touching the surface of what those oils can do. And so they've actually taken all of those 5 essential oils that are in that blend. So cinnamon, lemon, grapefruit, ginger, and peppermint, and they've redistributed the ratios of those oils in that blend to be perfection for your metabolic system. And so Slim and Sassy is going bye-bye. So I know you all are disappointed to never be able to say Slim and Sassy again. And it's going to be transformed into what we now know as MetaPower. And power, that PWR stands for Personal Wellness Realized. And so it's a line of 6 products that are all developed at the basis of that reformulated Slim and Sassy blends. You've got a 15 milliliter metabolic essential oil blend. You've got beadlets, which are brand new, which I've tried and I love them. I think they taste amazing. The satiety gum, there actually is a Slim and Sassy gum if you've ever had that. I like it. I have not tried this new gum, but I've been told that it's better, that it lasts longer than what is currently available to you. And then there's a whole new product called Advantage. It has collagen, actually 9 types of collagen, all 9 types of collagen. I've never seen a product on the market that has 9 types of collagen, and NMN, which we're going to talk more about in weeks to come, specifically next week, and the metabolic blend soft gels, meaning the oil in soft gels, and then finally an assist, a dietary supplement, which is specific to blood sugar spiking. So these are products that you'll take as you eat throughout the day to help manage that metabolic system, to help stop the spiking, and help increase our health span, right? So anybody excited? I am going to give this away. So here's the deal. I'm going to Salt Lake City in 3 weeks, and I'm going to have access to purchasing 2 kits of this when it rolls out. And I'm going to keep one for myself. I've already tried the Advantage collagen. It's super tasty. It's actually a really mild flavor, lemon and orange, but it tastes good. I'm really excited about that. And then I tried the beadlets and they taste great. So yay, new products. So I'm going to give my second kit away to one of you. So I'll have the winner drawn before I actually have the product in my hands, right? Because September 6th will be our last of these classes. So tonight, and then next week, Tuesday, the 30th, you can write down, and then the following Tuesday, September 6th. So next week, I'm going to dive into these products deeper, and we're going to go through the actual products in our traditional cleanse and how we're going to incorporate all of this together in a really easy to manage, I promise, usable format so that you can get results. I've already been talking with people that have been in the trials of these products. doTERRA has actually been formulating this for over 1.5 years, closer to 2 years. And specifically in the last 60 days, they've had people like wellness advocates like myself. I wasn't privy to this, but women, actually 2 even on our team, that were using all 6 products for 30 days. And so I have permission to share some before and after pictures next week of them like losing weight, even like healthy people that don't necessarily even have a lot of weight to lose, but are just toning up, specifically in their midsection. They're more energy, they're sleeping better. It's really, really exciting stuff. And so that'll be that'll be next week. That's too much for tonight, right? We had to get the why behind detoxing and metabolic health and how it all plays together. Everything holds hands in your body and works together. And so when one thing it seems off, the rest can be too. And so I want to assure you that your body was made well, that you're already detoxing on a daily basis, but you're likely inefficient in that. And so I want to go through next week how you can increase that rate of detoxification, support your metabolic health, balance your blood sugars, and increase our health span. Who's in for that, right? Long lifespan, longer health span. So anyway, what do you think? Any questions? I'm going to stop the recording and then I'm happy to hang out for any questions.